Okay, so I wanted to show you a couple of settings that you may want to change whenever you open up your software, especially if you're using it for the first time or if it's just a setting you don't like. So most of the time whenever you download the software, this is the screen you're going to get whenever you start it up. So you've got your work surface here, or your workspace. I do like to have the grid lines on because I think it makes it easier to line things up. So to change that, you're going to come over here up to the right hand corner, and this is the page setup panel. So you'll click on it once and that opens your panel. From there, and you do want to make sure that you have the right size selected. So if you're using the Cameo machine, that's going to be a 12 by 12 size. So there and you can choose automatic Cameo from there. It's going to leave it the same. Width and height are 12 by 12, and then your cutting mat will be a Cameo 12 by 12. So that should all be correct and defaulted to that straight from the factory if you have a Cameo machine. To turn on the grid lines, you're going to click here on the grid settings. So you're still in the page setup panel, but you click on the grid settings and click on show grid. So that's going to show your grid lines, and I just think it makes it a whole lot easier to work with. There are times that I will turn it off depending on what I'm working with, but for the most part I leave this on all the time. I'm going to go back to there and I'm going to X out of this. Now another thing that we had an issue with yesterday in class is when you click on the drawing tools and you want to draw a shape. We were drawing a square, so what we had happen is we would draw the square and then we would go to move it and do something else, and it was still drawing a square. It wasn't moving our shape, it just kept drawing squares. So we don't want that to happen. We want it every time we draw a shape to go back to the pointer. So two ways you can do that. One is that, okay, you draw your shape, then you go back up and choose pointer. That will then let you move that shape. But an easier way to do it, I think, is to change your settings. So go up to the edit menu, choose edit, preferences. On the preferences menu, you can change some of your setup features here. Unless you know what something does, I would suggest not changing it, just because you don't know how it may affect your workspace or how your mouse works or how it sends to your machine or does updates. So just be careful about what you change on here. Then you'll select Tools, and here this top section says Action After Tool Use. So after creating a shape, it is defaulted to continue drawing shapes. We don't want that to happen. We want it to go back to your select pointer. Okay, so this little arrow right here that I work with, this little mouse arrow, that is called a select pointer. So that's what we want it to default back to. And you can change that drawing freehand after using the eraser, the knife, the zoom, any of that. You can change those settings. I leave mine just like this. Seems to be what works best for me. But you can change those there. And then choose Apply and OK. Now, when I go up here and I draw a shape, I'm just going to draw it over here to the side. I draw my shape and it immediately goes back to a pointer, so now I can move that shape wherever I want. Now, another thing that we did was we made the lines larger on our box, or thicker. Let me delete some of these boxes and then I'll show you how to do that. So one way you can do it is you can click on the box and then hit backspace or delete, and that will delete that shape. Another way you can do it is to drag across and draw a selection box around those shapes and then hit delete. And I do still have two up here. If I want to delete everything that's on my workspace, I can choose Control A. So hold down the Control key, hit A, and that's going to choose everything that's in my workspace and let me delete it. So let's go back and let's draw that shape and see how to turn on the thick lines. So I've got the shape there. I want to make it more visible. So I'm going to go over here to the right hand side, and we're going to use the line style panel. Click once on that. Then this part here that says thickness, you can either slide the arrow over to make your line thicker, or you can use the arrow, the up and down arrows here, to choose your line thickness. So whatever works for you. I'd try not to get it too thick, just because it can interfere with your design if you get it super thick. So that's how you do that, and just let me know if you have any questions on this, and I hope you have fun playing around with it. Thanks.